Good morning, everybody. I trust you're well, and welcome to this fourth and final webinar in our current Propak webinar series. Today's focus is on the print industry and discussing the opportunities in print in the new normal. Today we've partnered with our good friends at Where to Print magazine and website, and moderating the session is a man who needs very little introduction in the print industry, and I will say globally for the amount of exhibitions in normal times he tends to attend around the world, and that is Where to Print CEO, Mr. Joju Adekanbi. Before I pass you over to Joju, I'd just like to remind the audience today, I know many of you that have been with us for the fourth time have heard this intro before, but just to give you a heads up, if you would like to ask a question, there is a live Q&A at the end of the session. To do this, please use the Ask a Question button in the menu below. Whilst there might not be time to answer all the questions, the panel will do their best to get as many covered before the end of the broadcast. Now, we do have one speaker we hope to join us. She's just having a bit of trouble with connectivity. So whilst I'm going to pass you on to Joju now to start and do the intro, we may find that Favour comes in at a later date, and we're trying to work that out now. So let me not keep you any further. Let's go straight to the discussion. As I said, today's focus is opportunities in print in the new normal. And to present the opening remarks and then introduce the panel is Mr. Joju Adekanbi. Joju, it's over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, George. Welcome everybody for today's webinar, which is print inclined. I would like to say a big thank you to Propak West Africa team for putting this webinar together to keep the industry engaged. Hello everyone once again, and welcome to the four-part series, the last in the four-part series of Propak West Africa webinar. My name is Joju Adekanbi, and I'm from Where to Print magazine. I'm very excited to be a moderator. It's no saying the fact that the coronavirus pandemic has had a huge effect on the printing industry and the world over in terms of reduced production and, of course, job loss. Here in Nigeria, for instance, which is the biggest economy in West Africa, according to the printing industry regulatory body, the Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria, the industry has lost over 15 billion naira since the pandemic started early in the year. And as an industry, we're one of the highest employers of labor. One can understand the multiplier effect of this on all the strata of the economy. With an exceptional feature of the printing that cuts across all other industry with value-added services, and we can conclude that the future of the printing industry in Nigeria depends on the level of innovation which you, the stakeholders, will be willing to engage in. And so that we can be able to discover the various opportunities across the printing value chain. And this will be the focus of today's webinar, and I know that our guest speakers will do justice to the topic of opportunities in print in the new normal. In my over 15 years of covering this energetic industry, I've come across and I can be able to appreciate how passionate and committed and resilient you, the stakeholders, are to the trade. And you will agree with me also that this trade has some of the best personality in terms of trustworthiness, in terms of dedication, in terms of course, knowledge, able experts that we can learn from. So I'm very pleased to introduce and welcome our line of expert guest speakers in no particular order, and they'll be speaking on specific topic. Our first speaker, who is actually not on screen right now, is going to be Favour Madu, and she'll be speaking on opportunities in sign and signages in the new normal. Favour is a unique entrepreneur who is constantly driven for positive change. She has worked closely with converters for more than 10 years, and that has given her a feel of how much more is needed to build an industry that is a world class. Our company, Favision, has value-driven business relationship with manufacturers across the world to ensure that input material are of high quality and they meet the required standard. So Madu, when you come in, we are very, very grateful that you are here, and you're welcome. Our second guest speaker is Mr. Akin Oduwole, and he will be speaking on opportunities in digital prints in the new normal. Akin started out in the printing industry as a pre-press engineer. With his training, level of exposure, and of course, strive for excellent after-sales services support, He started Technology Global Services in 2007, and since then, he has been pioneering innovations. With a nose for following the trend, he has carved a niche for himself in the printing technical sector, having transformed the newspaper printing technology with a chemistry-free technology. And recently, he introduced the direct-to-garment t-shirt printing. He has also leveraged on the pandemic to bring together his team of engineers to produce a made in Nigeria printing equipment. Akin is currently the Secretary of the Council of SIPON in Nigeria. Mr. Oduwole, we appreciate your presence. Our third and final guest speaker is Mr. Babafemi Oluwalano, and he will be speaking on opportunities on conventional offset prints in the new normal. Mr. Oluwalano is the Managing Director of ESPAN Press. He has a master's degree in architecture from Babafemi Awolowo University, Ife. He began his career in the printing industry as a graphic designer in 1989. He's very passionate about youth and graphic arts education. Mr. Babafemi Oluwalano is currently on the board or the Council of SIPON in Nigeria, as well as a member of Association of Nigerian Printers. He also serves on the National Working Committee of Nigeria Book Fair Trust. Mr. Oluwalano, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So before I hand over to our speaker, I would like to remind you, as just said, that this webinar is going to be recorded live and will be available for every one of us for replay from the Propak website. We'd also like to make this webinar as interactive as possible so that we can have an engaging and value-driven experience. So feel free to send in your question through the Ask a Question tab at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We'll be answering the questions at the end of the speaker's presentation. But if you don't answer your question during today's webinar, please be sure to follow up through all our social media handles. So without any much further ado, I would like to kick off things by welcoming Akin to start his presentation. Akin, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joju. I'm so glad to be here this morning, and I hope I'll be able to add some value again. Before I start, I would like to put straight some definitions. And the first definition I would like to look at is what a new normal is. And the new normal is the state of which an economy or society settles in after a crisis. If the state is different from the original state that that economy was, and we all know that this pandemic has brought a few things. Everyone is confused. People are trying to adapt to the change which the crisis has brought. They believe it's not time to invest. People prefer to keep their money and spend it on essentials like food, clothing, shelter, security. But with COVID-19 crisis, our lives has totally changed. Physical visit is reduced. Travel is affected. A lot of things have changed. But the good thing is that technology has become a tool for adapting. Now, the question is, who will snap out before the dust settles down? And then let's look at what digital printing is, because today I've been asked to be a bit biased and look at the digital part of the opportunities that we'll have. If I'm to define that, I will say digital printing is a process that utilizes digital data to control certain electronics printing devices. It might be an inkjet or a laser printer, and images are usually transferred directly to their substrates, meaning if it's in the offset section, we really don't need the printing plates. What are the benefits here? Wait and get speed of printing. Flexibility in terms of you can immediately put your barcode in, you can print variable data. Another benefit is the fact that you can print small volumes. And then they are also environmental friendly, easy to set up and easy to use. A perfect combination or a complement for the conventional kind of printing. So what opportunities does digital offer in this new normal? The new normal to me came with some good, some bad, and the ugly. And some of the bad is that there has been job losses. Some people have lost their job. lots of skilled people are becoming idle, and they complain that there is lack of capital to achieve their dreams. You know, trade between nations is shrinking. International travels, as I said, have been really, really affected. The wise, however, are saying that all we have learned globally can be brought home and applied locally. So digital label and packaging offers an opportunity to print for major essential service sector. So if you ask me, the first I would like to look at is the power of labels. Label is that thing that you put on a product to inform, to decorate, and to make it really attractive, to make it attractive. So if you go on the shelf in the supermarket, you want a product to be attractive. You want the product to cry out. And that's what label does to a product. And because this part of printing takes care of our life and our lifestyle and trend, then there's big possibility. And if you ask me, how do we print labels today? Conventionally, you need a large amount of volume. And there are new people coming in. Those who have lost their job due to the pandemic are now beginning to say, oh, there are things I can do to put some money in my pocket. So they're bringing out products. And because they're enlightened people, they want really good quality product. And so the label and packaging sector is one part that the digital part of that is one place that we need to look at. And there are lots of equipment out there to help you start and grow gradually. So that's for labels. But again, packaging, pouch printing and all that have become the order of the day. I mean, on our WhatsApp platform, hardly will a day go without someone looking for where to print pouches digitally. That is, I just started making cheese ball, I just started making plantain chips, or I just started making granules or anything like that. I need to package it. I mean, I've seen small chops from a big brand like 12 Basket being properly packaged using pouches. But the beauty of the pouch digitally is the fact that you can customize and personalize it. So this is an opportunity that people need to look at. And if you ask me how it's done today, you will probably go through the flexo or gravure method, which means that your volumes must really be high. And the benefit that digital brings is the fact that you can print minimum amount of volumes. And so label and packaging on one side. Another sector that I think is the digital textile printing sector. And for me, this has been my new baby for the past 2.5, 3 years, trying to grow that sector, because I see that the conventional is speaking about mass customization, mass production, but the world is tending towards mass customization. And what that means is that people want fewer quantities to grow. And I can give an example of a company here in Surulere, Lagos, Nigeria, where the owner got a DTG machine only to print for brand owners. So the guys who go abroad to print their t-shirts are now their major customers. And if you look at that kind of company, they probably have about 20, 30 brands printing with them, because those brands don't now have to print the large volumes they're printing. So a brand might tell me they're printing 10 pieces per week. All you need then is to just print your 10 pieces per week. So we see that trends and lifestyle is forcing us to move from to personalization and customization, and that is bringing some real value to digital textile printing. And as I always say, for the clothing industry, the internet will never replace wearing clothes. Now, there's some sectors that we will look at and think that, oh, they're very, very much affected by the pandemic. For instance, the newspaper printing sector. Even though the print media is classified as essential commodity, margins in this sector are dropping daily. Readership have reduced because of the online news presence. Breaking news are now on social media. So this sector is probably going through a lot. But again, technology is always here to solve problems. And I will say that there is a way that this sector can look at getting into the clouds. What are the opportunities there? a lot of people are working from home. That's a new trend. So we can get into the cloud and make the editor, the production guys, all of them can work from home and use technology to solve problems. Hard copy newspaper won't die. So from this cloud platform, we can then host both the traditional newspaper to print hard copy. We can host bloggers. We can host editors interested in producing their own local community newspapers, and also use that as a side also. So in this space, we'll have all these guys coming together. It's a perfect complement for the conventional newspaper printing industry. And this I think also is the future, because you can never kick away the bloggers. We need to look for a way to accommodate them and make sure that the news industry becomes bigger and more accommodating. And if we look at the conventional printing, like the oldest form of printing, even the old, good, traditional screen printing, can it get better by making it digitalized? Of course, printed circuit boards can be screen printed. Rather than us waiting for the events to come back, one can start printing PC boards, phone boards, TV circuitry boards. Technology will always help us solve problems. And the new normal has given power to technology. So why not position to print for those trends that are in vogue? It will be technical, but at the end of the day, it will also be very, very lucrative. Again, the last set of people I'll look at are the graphic artists. And in my opinion, this is the group that serve as the base for everything we do digitally. The world is looking for the vaccine, so the pharmaceutical industry will boom. We must eat, so the food and beverage industry will boom. Money will be printed, and also the textile printing industry will also boom. The value chain of label, packaging, food, textile, pharma, and all essential commodities all need graphic designers. So graphic artists must be ready for serious opportunities in the digital space. In fact, printing starts with them. And I think that we need to do a lot in that sector to make them as professional as possible so we can leverage and get some new opportunities in this pandemic period. I hear that I have 5 to 7 minutes, so I would like to stop here for now and take questions afterwards. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Oduwole. I would like to bring in Mr. Oluwalano in now to make his presentation so that later on, if we can be able to get Favour, then we will take the question after. So, Mr. Oluwalano, please, over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you to Propak for organizing these webinars. Thank you, Joju, and thank you, Akin, for that brilliant opening. You have said everything that I want to say. Picking up from where, I've been asked to speak with the buyers for conventional offset. So picking up from where Akin left, we've talked about all the uncertainty, we've talked about all the issues, and how difficult it is even to project, going forward. It's exciting when we looked at some of the transformations that some companies have been able to make. So we saw the interesting situation where fashion designers, for example, were able to convert and to begin to make masks. We saw the situation where some breweries and some chemical producing companies were able to easily transform to make sanitizer. But one of the key things that we must remember even about the conventional printing is that the presses and the equipment that is used is highly, what's the word now? The configurations are not that easy to modify. It's not so easy to, change the configuration of an existing press to begin to do something else. So what does that tell us? Where I see the future is in collaboration in financing, collaboration in utilizing existing capacity. I think that one, in financing, one of the questions that we're looking at today is the issue is how do we fund going forward? How do you get a bank? Already we know, for example, in Nigeria where we are, we know the situation with the banks. We know how difficult it is to fund. How do you do a business plan with all the uncertainties going forward? So I think that one of the things that must happen is that we must collaborate. Another thing that we must look at is equity and partnerships. For me, in the last couple of days, it's been all over the news waves, the issue about the pharmaceutical company, pharmaceutical retailer that is having issues with the investors. For me, that is a minus. I'm not speaking for either party, but, when you look at partnerships and bringing in equity, I think that really must be the way to go, go forward to solve problems so that you can actually kind of solve the funding problem. Otherwise, we may not be able to move forward. Now, also in terms of collaboration, one of the things that I've always emphasized, for example, is that especially in this environment that we play, I don't know how many, presses are really running optimally. We have presses in the West that are doing 80,000 sheets per day. In fact, I was reading in the last few days, there's a press in England that is doing 233,000 sheets per day, which means that there is a lot of unutilized capacity. And so one of the things that, we must begin to do is we must begin to collaborate with each other. We must begin to have arrangements in place where, you can get your jobs and then you can outsource to some of the folks who have, unutilized capacity. One of the other things that, I would also be looking at is we need to also begin to specialize more. Maybe we will call it forward integration. One of the challenges that a lot of printers have had is that printers typically, with a lot of technical people, and we tend to take a backseat, allowing allowing intermediaries, to take hold of that space. So you say you are a printer. We need to begin to look at ourselves as solution providers. So you are solving marketing problems. You are getting involved in things like direct mailing. You are getting involved in data mining and data utilization to solve issues for your clients. This is the only way. These are areas of opportunity that we can take advantage of without necessarily breaking the banks on the back end to acquire new pieces of equipment for a market that we're not sure of. In fact, what is happening now is that I think that every printer needs to really focus on, very short-term planning and being able to be nimble enough to respond to requirements. Obviously, basically, we would need to be very closely working and collaborating with our clientele to make sure that we understand their needs. One of the things that Akin spoke about too was as a result of VUCA. So yes, there has been the good, there has been the bad, and there has been the ugly. So again, I start from the ugly. Ugly is that because of the very high contact nature of printing, many presses couldn't work at all, especially at the very height of the pandemic. But having come back, there has been some good, because what has happened now is, especially in the industry that I play in, which is the book industry, typically there's a lot of competition with publishers and book authors and things going outside Nigeria to bring in their books. But because of the pandemic, supply chain disruptions on the one hand, and the FX, the foreign exchange challenges, the value of the naira, it has forced a lot of people to look inwards for production. So there is a boon in that area of where people have brought their jobs back in. The other area that, obviously we'll also be looking at encouraging, much more specialization. And I think that these equipment for specialization may actually be easier to acquire than the back end. So what are we looking at? I think that there are spaces in areas like puzzles, production of cards, card decks, greeting cards production. A lot of our greeting cards right now, for example, in Nigeria, are still imported. But obviously there has to be a lot of forward integration for us to be able to drive the retailing. There has to be collaboration to be able to drive that part. I think that I can stop here for now. Thank you very much. Akin, over to you, Joju.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Oluwalano. I think Favour is still having difficulties on his data internet connectivity. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Favour is here.
Okay. Can you get your presentation together so that at the end we can have the question and answer session? So over to you, Favour.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joju. And good morning, everyone. So sorry I had technical issues earlier, but else I would have been in before now. Today, we are looking at opportunities in the sign industry, an industry that I have played played for over a decade. And I work with a lot of converters in this industry. Yes, we've had a lot of our challenges. We had a lot of opportunities that we have maximized. If I want to start, I'll focus on where the state of the industry before the pandemic. Probably just give a state of the industry before the pandemic, and then I'll look at what has changed. Then how can we do it differently? Then that's the post-pandemic, which is why we're here today. Now, before the pandemic, if I draw back 10 years before in the sign industry, I've seen the sign industry as a place where we have hidden opportunities. There are a whole lot of latent opportunities that have not been tapped in the sign industry because we've not been able to meet the international standard. Way back in 2006, where we had the bank capitalization, it was a whole lot of opportunity for the sign industry, where you have a lot of banks having to rebrand what they have, rebrand their signages. So a whole lot of sign makers, the likes like the Rosal, we have the Goldfire, Asaden, they all were playing big in this industry, big signs and all that. But the challenge there was that there were a lot of importation coming in because the standard were not being met. Some of the international companies that came in will find out that their signs were not properly done, and they want to import from outside the country. But as time goes on, as the trend has been moving down the lane, we discovered that yes, they've been meeting up to some extent. A lot of people with great intellect, had come into the industry, and they have started doing fantastically well. Before the pandemic struck. Even before the pandemic, there was the issue of the Lagos State agency, LASA, that came in as a regulatory body that actually brought down, brought down the profit margin. No, possibly reduce the rates that a company can decide to put a sign in front of their offices, you know. So at that time, we noticed that there was a drop in sales. And at a point, they were able to have a better marriage together on what to do and how to go about having a sign outdoor in your office or probably on the road. So all these things within this period, actually, they now were able to marry together and they're able to still continue making their profit. But be it as it may, we notice that substandard material has actually dwelled in so much in the industry that they are not able to have a perfect finished signage out there. Because our counterpart in other part of the world, when you see the sign out there, you marvel and say, wow, this is good. And I can tell you categorically some signs that you see out there that can marvel you, that will make you feel, wow, has actually been that there's a whole lot of input from outside the country on that signage standing out there. And that is why you can see that as well. But I also give credit to the industry, some big industry players, the converters, that have done so well in saying that we want to maintain standard. We want to be the way our counterparts are in the outside the country. Because in the US, you find out that their sign lasts longer. We also find out that we don't have issues of the sign fading out within a short time. A good example of that is in 2013 when First Bank actually rebranded their signage. Now I think they moved from the blue color, royal blue color, to what they have, we call European blue color right now. I can tell you for sure, if you go check, in the last 5 to 6 years, you will not see that any sign for First Bank faded out. What you can see is that probably they have to replace because maybe there are other components that did not work out on that sign. So which means that there was the standard has improved over time. So during the pandemic, we find out that everything dropped. There was no job, people are not working because who are you going to put up sign out there? Because all offices are closed. Nobody's in anything. We're all working from home. Nobody's doing anything except for those who have jobs that they had not done before the pandemic. Probably they tried to put it together, but there were a whole lot of challenges because they could not move. They could not get all that they need. But the sign industry so far is still at their latter state because we have not got it right. But in the near future, because a whole lot of them are now coming to terms that, yes, we need to play big the way our counterparts are playing outside the international industry, and we have to do it well. Because also, if the materials are not what it should be, then they will not be able to stand in there and say, yes, of a truth that we can stand firm as a Nigerian company and produce it proudly Nigerian if we don't have the right material. Now, if you let me just run through the different workers that work within the sign industry. The different workers that work within the sign industry, you have them like, we have to work with graphic artists, which every one of us here will work with. That is the first step, because if there is no design, then you have nothing to present as for the sign. We'll have also work with painters. All these people that were working with the painters, the electricians, the welders, the vinyl pasters, the sign installers. These are professionals within this industry that need to know their job properly. If they don't learn their job to details, then the sign finish, the sign finish will not get that perfect look that we are looking out for, that is well detailed. And when you look at it, you say, wow, this is good. So by the time we are able to, these other people have seen themselves as professional in this field, because we have a very few of them. Yes, there are a lot of welders out there, but the welders for signages, those who will produce signages, is different from the regular welder, because you have to improve whatever you have been doing before now. It's not just like the regular welding thing you're doing. The vinyl pasters have to learn their work in a specialized way. If you don't know the job, if you don't know your little calculation, how to calculate this thing and put them side by side, then you might be having issues with that. So all these people, yes, we have them few in the industry. They are looking for them. We just have to recycle them most of the time for them to come do your job for you. But if you have them there, they know that this is an opportunity that is left for them in the industry for them to come in and maximize. Then we could actually work very well with what we are doing. And finally, we also have areas like specialized support. All these areas that I'm talking about, a lot of people, we don't have a lot of players in that industry. Very few of them. Yes, we know that it is capital intensive, but then we have those challenges in the area of getting the right materials to do the job. We also have a problem of substandard material in the industry. And we also have some clients looking for low quality, not really low quality, they want something cheap. And we also know that anything good does not come cheap. You have to pay premium prices for it. And the truth is that if the right materials are not available, then the skilled artisans will not have a perfect finished job. And also they will not be able to compete with their counterparts in the developed countries. I want to put a stop here so that if there's any other questions, I will be able to answer as the time goes on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Favour. That's quite insightful. This is the question and answer section now. I would like everybody to start, because we want to make it very interactive. I would like you to start sending in your question via the Q&A tab on the screen. So my first question, let me just start with this very specific question. How sustainable are these opportunities that we have in the digital, in the conventional, even in the signage? How sustainable are they in the industry? Mr. Akin, I would like you to start by answering this question. How sustainable are these opportunities, considering our climate? You know, our industry, our markets in Africa is quite different. Nigeria, even in particular, is quite different. So how sustainable are these opportunities that we can take advantage of?
Thank you, Mr. Joju. So for me, I see the printing business as a mansion with many rooms. Whichever room you enter presents its own unique opportunity. Get into the room of digital print and enjoy flexibility to provide wait and get prints, target the lastminute.com people, you know, and use technology to add value. If you enter into the conventional room, for instance, use the knowledge that you have gathered over the years and you have mastered to navigate and print really complex stuff. Print and add unique embellishment and sell that as your added value. So, but imagine again, if you enter the room of signs and signages, imagine you entering an airport like Schiphol in Amsterdam, which has a landmass of, I think, over 6,000 acres, and with almost $30 billion of economic impact to the world. And you don't know where to turn to because the sign industry in that country is asleep. Opportunities are everywhere. So you really need to know which room you're going to enter into. And the new normal means that we need better creativity to access these opportunities. So someone said the graveyard is the place where the dead dreams are. Creativity and aspiration lies dormant. I want it to be said that Akin Oduwole, died empty. The moral is we can do more. Opportunities are there, but we can do more.
Yeah, Mr. Oluwalano. So what are the sustainable opportunities considering our climate?
Okay, so I think that basically there are, like Akin has said again, there are always opportunities. I think the key thing really is how do you engage these opportunities? How do you tackle them? What are the risks you take, to harness these opportunities? One of the things that I had said in my earlier, when I made the earlier statement, was that, like I said, we need to be very creative. We need to be solutions-minded. One of the things that I've always advocated, and I continue to advocate, yes, we are not here on the basis of SIPON today. I know that there are two of us from SIPON today. Is that one of the things I'm advocating in the industry is for longer-term contracts. You know, when you are negotiating a contract with a customer, negotiate 2 years, 3 years. Lock the customer in. The customer is able to has some relative comfort in terms of pricing and whatever. You as a supplier, you are able to plan. You know, there is no, if you have, for example, it's very difficult to go and invest based on the fact that you've gotten one job today and you don't know whether you will get the job tomorrow. Or if they change the person, which is one of the issues that we have, at least in our client, I can speak for Nigeria. You are working with a company and they have, maybe the person in corporate affairs or whoever changes, it may change. But if we can lock in longer term contracts, then we are able to plan. You are able to invest in the equipment or invest in whatever you need to be able to drive these processes. I don't think we can work, and that's also the other thing when you become a solution provider, because when you are not just providing a commodity, when your clients cannot just come and say, which is what happens in the industry, whether or not any other competitor has offered, they say, you say you've offered it, you've done for 5 naira. They say, I can do for 2 naira. I've gotten somebody who can do for 2 naira. That's because the service that you are currently offering has become commoditized. But you see, if you are providing a whole solution, solutions are not that easy. Yes, you may get somebody else who may be able to offer that solution, but typically built into solutions that you are providing are also unique areas that you have advantages. And so, like Akin has said, creativity must come into it. We need to really think. One of the challenges that we have is that maybe it's the environment, maybe it's all the things that you have to deal with. But we just have to think such that we can evolve solutions that we can drive. And so when you have all of these kind of things and you can go to a client and offer something that is solving the client's problem, then it's easier to tell the client that, see, for this thing that we want to offer, we want a 2-year thing. If you have a 2-year contract, then you can plan, you can make some projections, you know what is coming in. You can even take that to your bank, although, we always have to be careful because of the interest rates and all the fluctuations that we're dealing with in this climate. But you have something to take to your bank. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Oluwalano. I'll take the issue of the bank later, but I would like to ask Akin this question. He mentioned a series of industries or sectors that we can easily take advantage of because of the huge market in there, like the flexo, the gravure, the metal decoration, the textile. The question is, how can one transition from one sector, that is maybe from graphic design or from normal conventional offset prints, to this sector? How can we transition successfully, Akin?
Okay. I like to always look at trends, and I've seen in recent trends that the gap between conventional and digitals are closing up. So your flexo, gravure for label and packaging, they will lose the small quantities because they're not able to meet that need. Then they're configured to print real high volumes. So in that case, digital is the gap. So there is no issue with transitioning anymore. The way it is, do you want the market? If you want the market, yes, then it means that you must combine your conventional and your digital. But again, if you don't have the capital, then you cannot go conventional because conventional is always much more capital intensive. And how do you then grow the volumes? You start with small and then you begin to grow. Metal decoration for me, let's not even go there because it's not for everyone as far as I'm concerned. So you're looking at beginning and to see for instance, the large format printing, you have idle capacity. Moving into the roll-to-roll textile digitally is simple logic. You know why? The machines are similar. And so is the technology and even the software. The way things run in that sector is so similar. So if a guy says, I have a large format printing machine and I'm so idle because there are no events, I think that kind of person should be engaging their technical people to see how they can transition to using that machine to print on textile, because textile will not die. Textile will always be there. We're also seeing that a lot are abandoning their offset conventional because they say, oh, there is no business in that area. So we see them transitioning. So I've got customers who will say, oh, please sell my CTP and probably let's have a DTG because that's like a new. So they sell off that and then they get. So, but anyway, in whichever way that we're transitioning, there is this learning curve that we have to put in mind. So it's not so easy to transition, but it is very possible.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer. Coming back to that issue of bank access to finance or access to funds, we know that this industry is very, very capital intensive. Our banks, quote and unquote, they are not wired to support SMEs. What can operator do to access these funds in order to get new equipment? I will start with Mr. Oluwalana.
Okay, first of all, again, just in addition to what Akin has said, I think that one of the beautiful things about transitioning, there's that proverb that you don't jump into water wholly, that you first put your leg in. Again, I've been talking about collaboration. There's absolutely nothing with venturing into an industry in terms of looking for those jobs and then outsourcing it at first and trying to learn the ropes, to those who are already in that space. And then eventually, building to owning your own equipment, in that space. Collaboration would always work. Collaboration makes everybody stronger. Now, with respect to the banks, one of the key things that we must all look at, again, because I also come from that space, one of the key things that we must look at ourselves as, that's us printers, is that we must look at ourselves first as business people. The average printer wants to, take you into his facility and stretch his hand over the array of machines, and show you with pride, how many machines he has, but are those machines making money? Are you using them optimally? Are you using this machine only once a year? I know quite a few people who own some pieces of equipment that they use only once a year. Is that the best model for it? Because at the end of the day, it's how much cash that you're going to be able to generate that helps you to be able to take any sort of plan from the bank. The banks are not, they are there to support you, you understand, but they must see the money. They must be able to see the cash that you're able to generate. So the other thing that I would say, to us as printers is, your access to markets. Where, you want to go and invest in a piece of equipment. Where are you intending? Who is going to buy the products that, those are the questions that I think that we must answer. Having said that, again, I also am an advocate, and I had mentioned it in my earlier, when I started at the beginning. Partnerships, in the West, partnerships are the rule. Here, partnerships in Nigeria, partnerships are the exception. We have a lot more standalones, and then we have few partnerships. But in other countries, coming together is the rule. 2, 3 people come together, 4, 5 people come together, a group of people come together. If we can all contribute and bring equity together, have the right governance and all the things that we need to have in place, and everybody is working in its core area, that may be a much stronger organization than one person owning 100% of some very tiny business. Again, I mentioned it at the beginning, which is why I have that, sadness, about this current brouhaha that is going on with the pharmaceutical retailer who got this $80 million investment. Because you see, those are the kind of things that people look at when they want to bring in funds into the country, partner to grow, partner with local people to grow establishments. We need to have the right governance in place. And we need to be comfortable with owning 10% of $1 billion company rather than owning 100% of a 10 million naira company. I think that that's one of the ways that I think that we need to go. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Favour, there is a question here from somebody talking about price regulation, especially in terms of material, and then which inform this my next question to you. One of the major issue affecting the signs and signages industry is the number of substandard material coming into the country. So who is to blame? Is it the importer? Is it the regulatory agencies or the government or even the players themselves? So who is to blame and what can we do about this? Favour.
Okay, thank you, Akin, for that question. Thank you, Akin, for that. Now, the person you're asking who is to blame. Well, will I say it's the government? If I say yes, I may not be very, very correct, because the government is not the one that bringing these materials to the country. Yes, we might have the Standard Organization of Nigeria and all that. Yes, they don't regulate that. But you see, because Nigeria is a country that is price sensitive, we all want something to be very cheap for us to buy. So I think these people that bring in this material will now bring in something that is they call it pocket-friendly purchase. So they bring it and it's pocket-friendly, but in the long run, the quality is not there. And I'm sure this actually play in all the industry, not just in the signage industry. We want pocket-friendly material. Now they go in and bring in this material and they sell to them. In the next 3 months, now I'll give a good example of the vinyl. I talked about, when I was talking, I talked about the signage of First Bank. In the last 6 to 7 years, if you go through around all the First Bank, you will not see a faded sign of First Bank. I don't think anybody have seen that. Now that is because here, First Bank, yes, there might be a big company, yes, they want a standard product. They have told the converters, this is what we want. And the converters go ahead to buy the right material to produce their signages. And that is why it is standing there. Now, everybody goes to Mushi to buy material. I have to mention that. They go there to buy. And these vinyls that they have are the vinyls that in the next 2 to 3 months, when you put it out there, because of our weather condition, our importers that bring this in, because they want to do pocket-friendly thing, that is why we're having it there. It is not good for us in our industry because it is not actually projecting our image in the right direction. Everybody is now saying that we don't know what we are doing. But I'm sure that be it as time goes on, these things, that is the sign makers themselves, insisting on having the quality material to do their job. And at the same time, educating their customers that we cannot give, when you talk about, pocket-friendly material, probably signage, it's not possible if you want something quality to be out there. So they have to educate their customers that we have to use the right material, and using the right material or the quality material, it will cost them a little more. So that at the end of the day, over time, when you calculate how much you are saving over years, you find out that you have saved so much, rather than doing a cheap sign today, tomorrow you need to change it, next tomorrow you need to change it. By the time you are changing your signage 5 times in a year, you should have known that you have incurred a lot of cost. Then you have a signage installed in front of your office today, and in the next 2 to 3 years, you don't need to touch that signage because the signage is still standing just the way it was installed. So now it is not just like we have run through, we find out that the government has nothing to do about this thing. It is the industry players that have actually brought this, well, I call it dilemma to themselves, because you are not insisting on having the standard product to do your job. If you want the quality product, you know where to get it. Insist on it. And the guys in the guys in the open market will now say, okay, since they are not buying this substandard material anymore from us, we will stop bringing them in. We will just bring in the right material so that it will suit whatever thing we want, the standard we're trying to play in this in our country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Favour, for this insight. There is one comment about collaboration between South Africa and Namibia, Nigerians. There is a question for Mr. Oluwalano here too, that the book industry is quite huge, considering the Nigerian population. And according to SIPON, the regulatory body, we have 1.2 billion books available for printing annually. How can the operators position themselves to this to take advantage of these enormous opportunities? Or is the sector meant for certain set of people? So how can we position ourselves for this huge opportunity?
Well, thank you, Joju. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the goods that, first of all, I've said it time and time again, the printing industry in Nigeria can print as many books as are required in Nigeria. But one of the things that I've always stressed is that, we must all work in our areas of strength. So people ask you, oh, how much equipment do you have? How much do you have? How fast can you produce, and all of those kind of things? And I'm always quick to mention to all those folks who ask that question, that in Europe, where things are so highly mechanized and every process is mechanized, labor is extremely expensive. The cost of funds are 3%, 4%. So it is in Europe, America, and a lot of these countries, it's in their best interest to invest in equipment. On the other hand, our labor is very cheap, and our cost of funds are very expensive. And so we need to, we are employing labor by doing a lot of the things that you can train people to do by hand and all of those things. The processes, obviously, there are some processes that you would still have to mechanize. So, but I think, again, and it's happening now, one of the things that we must continue to do is engage with our customers. Right now, the biggest client in the book space is government. Government orders the largest number of books. But from experience, what has happened is that government has always ordered last minute. There's nothing that says that we cannot engage government. And that's one of the things that we're advocating at the SIPON level. Engage government from months before. Government already has some rough idea about how many books it's going to need in September of the next year. So it's not rocket science. You can engage government. Government places these orders ahead of time. Everybody can plan. There are enough printers to do the work. They can finish the work. There's value added across the entire ecosystem, and everybody's happy. Right now, like I said, one of the good that has come out of the pandemic is, the supply chain disruptions that have happened, and the potential supply disruptions that may happen, because we're not sure whether there's going to be a second wave or third wave, like they are saying. A lot of orders that used to go outside of Nigeria are now within Nigeria, and a lot of things are happening. Factories are producing, collaboration is going on, and it's a happy thing to see. Thank you. I think I can stop here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to ask Akin this final question. Our time is almost fast spent. Akin, I know you are very much involved in teaching, and you are a council member of SIPON, the secretary for that matter. This question is for you. What can print business owner do, especially? We learn a lot of new opportunities now, and now they are training their staff. They are trying to retrain them to new set of skills, and not minding the fact that they will be pushing somewhere, and the industries we try to take the staff away from them. What can they do? And even the staff that are being trained, we have this arrived mindset. So what can the operators, a business owner, do so that they won't say, okay, yes, we are not training, we don't need to do any other thing? So,
thank you, Joju. Very, very interesting question. My mentor, my big mentor in the industry, has always said that if you employ a monkey, you get monkey service. And if you employ a monkey, you better train him to be human if you want your business to actually succeed. And I have said times and times again that the customer is the king, but your staff is actually the king maker. So as far as I'm concerned, if you treat the king maker as properly as you should, then we will not be afraid that they're going somewhere else. And if they do go somewhere else, they're still going there to fly the flag of whatever you are taught. But again, Joju, because trends change with time and lifestyle changes depending on generation you're in, the ideal thing is to learn and relearn. You must always ensure that you're learning something new. Otherwise, you will be obsolete. And we're in a printing industry that things change so fast. And I think the reason it changes is that we have a big exhibition every 4 years. So suppliers are under pressure to ensure that they bring something new out for us to catch up with. So in every 4 years, something must change. So that's the kind of industry we're in. So we must always ensure that we're up to the task. But again, my belief is that it's not all entrepreneurs that are wired to be innovative as it were. So we should stop putting pressure on those configured for instance, those not configured for instant innovation. They can catch up later. I mean, the small business entrepreneur, for instance, he just wants to keep his business small. They will never collect jobs they can't chew. They are very reliable. I mean, they have time for your job, as their strength is that they have done that over and over again. And the term tested and trusted can be used for them. And it's totally different from another entrepreneur who is a large company entrepreneur who has learned over the years to sustain innovation. So this kind of entrepreneur will respond quickly and sharply to the new normal, to new innovation, because they're configured to monitor customer behavior. So I will not be surprised if Microsoft does not. I will be really surprised if Microsoft, for instance, does not respond to the new normal the way they are doing right now. So once again, the small business entrepreneur can no longer keep up. Then the large organization will employ them because they are actually reliable people. So at the end of the day, people will move from one company to the other. But for us, it is the movement in the industry. I think it's always welcome. You can never keep anybody for forever. There's a popular Yoruba proverb that says that 20 children cannot play for 20 years. So people's desire changes, and you just allow people to express themselves. The ecosystem will take care of it. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sorry we can't be able to take further questions, but we can really get ourselves engaged through all the social media and those. Our speakers are available 24/7 to answer any question that you may ask. So you will agree with me that our speakers have done just stick to our topic today. And now we know that there are so many hidden but viable opportunities in this printing business, in this new normal even. So permit me to say a very big thank you to every one of you, even our participants. I would like to say a special thank you to Favour Madu. We appreciate your insights. I thank you, Mr. Akin Oduwole. We appreciate your knowledge that you shared. I thank you, Mr. Babafemi Oluwalano. Your contribution is very, very highly appreciated. And to all our participants, over 200 from across Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia. I see some people from South Africa, India. There are some from UK, US, Germany. Germany is there. You are indeed very wonderful. Thank you very much for your time. Now is the time for every one of us to roll up our sleeves and get the ball rolling from this insightful session by making positive impact in this our quite exciting and rewarding profession. Finally, on behalf of the industry combined, not just the printing industry, I mean the three unique industries that make up the leading exhibition in West Africa, which is Propak West Africa, I would like to extend our appreciation to George Pearson and his amazing team at Afroset Montgomery in UK for keeping us, all the stakeholders, engaged with this time-tested knowledge and ideas to advance our industry forward. Thank you very much, George. And as I said before, and which is, I'm still very confident that my people here at Where to Print, we are so passionate as a team. And we know that we are coming out of this COVID-19 better and stronger. So thank you very much. Over to you, George.
Thanks, Joju. And thank you all, and to our guest speakers, to Favour, to Akin, and to Babafemi. It was a really insightful session. So that brings us to our last webinar in this current series. I think, as I've always said in this, we wish we were running the physical event this year, which would have been a few weeks ago. But obviously the situation hasn't allowed us to do so. But I feel the last 4 webinars have actually been really useful. Us as organisers, this is the first time we've done them. And I think it's opened our eyes to, the different virtual alternatives. Although the physical is by, you can't compete with that. These webinars have been really useful in terms of engaging with our industry. Just to remind our audience, all of the webinars are available on our website, so you can go on there and look back at all of them. And I think, given the popularity of these, we'll look at running another series in the new year, probably in sort of February and March time. So please keep an eye out for that. So I think that's everything from us. On behalf of Montgomery, thank you to Joju and all of our speakers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And look, we'll look forward to seeing you again in a few months for the next series. Great stuff. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.